Hey, welcome back. This is Minding Your Business with the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce on News Talk 1380, the Antelope Valley and North LA County source for your news now. I'm Chris Spiker, Antelope Valley florist. Our engineer, Kenneth Guzman. Hi, Kenneth.
Hey there!
Happy Saturday.
How you doing?
Good. Co-host, Aaron Goldstein, Goldstein Digital. Hi, Aaron.
Hello.
Who is our next guest?
Our next guest is Stan Ulvin from Sierra Towing.
Stan Ulvin.
That'd be me. I'm Stan Ulvin.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for inviting me aboard today.
Well, and we're going to talk about a couple things today. First we're going to talk about YEA, Young Entrepreneurs Academy, right? And it's pronounced YEA.
It is pronounced yay. It doesn't quite spell like yay, but that's the way we pronounce it. It's a little bit easier to remember and easy to talk about. Kind of an enthusiasm builder as well when we say yay.
So I thought you should be on the Chamber show because you just graduated your second group of students, young people.
Sure did.
And I bet the community would go, what? What are you doing? And when do we start that?
You know, this is a program that we've done the last 2 years with the Chamber, and it's been very successful. We bring in students all throughout the Antelope Valley, and we bring them into the type of a young entrepreneur situation, very similar to what, I think for the public to understand it, the easiest way to understand is very similar to how Shark Tank works on, I believe it's NBC is what Shark Tank's on. These kids come in with ideas that we help them foster, and then they work through the ideas. And it's not just an idea that's a brand new product, but maybe it's an idea, let's talk about being an entrepreneur first. That makes it a little bit easier. Being an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily mean that you came up with something brand new, a new invention. An entrepreneur is coming up with doing something different and unusual, maybe something that's been done many, many times before. Take a look at how many hamburger places have we got in the Antelope Valley, Chris? We've got a number. Burger King.
I would guess a dozen.
Yeah. Burger King, McDonald's.
Great and small.
Yeah. Texas.
Did you say In-N-Out?
On and on. In-N-Out.
Okay.
Five Guys. Why are there so many, and how do they all stay busy? It's because each one has a little bit different idea. That's entrepreneurship. Finding out what people want to have that can be a little different from one thing to another. So what we've done is we're teaching these kids how they can start their very own businesses and be an entrepreneur. Have a new idea. Maybe it's something old that's been around for a long time, but do you have a new idea, a new way to do it in such a way that attracts people? Now, while we're doing that, we're also teaching them the proper way to run a business. How do you set up a business, and how do you run a business, and what's it take to do that? And so this course is actually 3 segments of 10 weeks each. So it's actually 30 weeks these kids commit. And it's along the lines of a college course.
Yeah.
However,
and it takes place at a college.
It does take place at a college. However, these are not college students. These are kids that we actually had the young man this year that won the competition, that did the best in the class and actually went on to a national competition in New York, was a 6th grader. And so we had kids as young as 6th graders, but we went all the way through to juniors in high school. So quite a variety. This year we had around 10 students that went through the course. Yeah. It was nice because actually Chris is over here nodding and asking me questions, but he was one of our mentors and was very involved with the EA, and we appreciate the help that you gave us, Chris. It was great.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in practice for
Your guy won, didn't he?
well, my guy did win.
This guy.
I think he was a pretty sharp cookie before I met him.
Chris, why don't you tell him what his idea was, because it was a cool idea.
Well, he's a little guy. He's a little guy.
Yeah.
A 12-year-old, young, so, but very short in stature.
Small guy. Loves football.
And he loves football. And
Loves-
basketball?
Well, yeah. It's funny. I actually interviewed him for the course, and when I was talking to Saeed, I go, what are your interests? And he just kept talking about football, and I go, dude, I hope you're fast because you're awfully small. Great kid.
So
He would just
his
laugh.
idea was ties for little guys. And I said, little kids wear, 1 to 12 years old, they wear ties. And he says with a serious look on his face, I go all over the valley looking for ties. I can't find any that I can wear. They're all too big.
Yeah.
Clip-ons.
And he was especially, it really started with his little brother, who was, I think, a 5-year-old or something like that. And his little brother wanted to have a dinosaur on his tie, and they couldn't find, or it was a jet plane.
Yeah.
Anyway, they couldn't find one anywhere, internet or anything. He came with this fabulous idea of ties for little guys. And he won with our competition, did very well in the international competition, has sponsors and everything else right now. So
You know, we made an AV Nice video for him.
oh, you did.
Aaron Goldstein came into the classroom with Mom's permission, and we shot just a little promo video. And at the ceremonies the other night, his mom turned around and said, "Thank you, we love the video." And he liked the wristband idea. He was just a lot of, and we hooked him up with George Jorge over at Ventura Graphics, because this idea, how are we going to make these ties? How are we going to print them or stamp them? So I sent him over to, and it was all about connections. When I go to the classes, I'd see CPAs that were chamber members and attorneys and video people, promoters.
Correct,
Todd, all these different people were there giving of their expertise, and so I was able to send him over to a chamber member so he could learn how to make these ties in a profitable manner. It was fun.
You know, the program is set up where the kids come in the first 10 weeks and they figure out exactly what they're going to do as their project. And that takes about, you know, each week they go through something, and then they have to start a business plan and go through that business plan. You know, I got to tell you, there's a lot of people, I would say most businesses in the Antelope Valley have not done a business plan.
Yes.
And once you've done a business plan and figure out the profitability and what you're going to be able to do, at that point, you know, is this a viable business? Well, these kids have this tool now that they will have for the rest of their lives to
Right.
be able to figure out, is this a business that's going to be viable? And then I usually come in the second section, and the portion that I do is I really try to work on them in being able to speak, not just public speaking, but I also work on them to be able to speak with adults. You know, these kids are of an age that they talk with their parents, but how often do they really come up when they're in a position of, I guess, authority, when they're talking about their product, and they have to be strong about their product, and it's a whole new way for them to speak to adults. And so we have mock meet and greets, and we have them when we get up and just have them do talks that are understandable and very clear for the adults as they come in. So it works out really good. And then the final, after they actually do a Shark Tank type of situation, it's called an investor panel, where they pitch their product to investors from not just the Antelope Valley, but actually through the western U.S. I think we had 10 investors. And they make a decision of putting as much as $1,000 to $15 into each one of these businesses, depending on the product that these kids came up with. And off these kids go from there. And they have viable businesses that they can actually, you know, they can actually make money and do things, you know,
Yeah.
the profitability of it. So it's really a cool setup, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Saeed, for one, is planning on going on to college. Even if he has this amazing business, he's going to have an education.
You know, one of the things I talk to the kids about is what's your backup plan? What's in your back pocket? When you have a great viable business and your business fails, what will you do? Their answer almost always was, I'll start another business. I said, no, you can't start another business. You don't have any money. It takes money to start another business. What's in your back pocket? And what I'm getting around to with the kids is education is what we get in the United States at no charge. And you can have that education, and that's your backup plan in your back pocket. That's what you can do. You can get a job with the education that you have. And sure, build it back up, and if you really want to be an entrepreneur, you can come back and give it another shot. But you need to have something in your back pocket at all times. So,
Stan Ulvin, Sierra Towing. How did you get involved with this program?
well,
Did you
it
get
was,
too close to Sandy Smith?
my buddy Sandy Smith came over and started messing with me. You know, Sandy and I have been in Lancaster West Rotary for a number of years together, and she's a very good friend of mine. And I get involved with many things in Lancaster West, and she said, I'd really like to have you give this a shot if you would. And so I did, and it was fun. I had a great time with it last year, and she came up to me this year and said, "You willing to do it again?" Class last year was a little bit tough, a lot of work.
There were a lot of students in that class.
It was a huge number of students. We had teams rather than people that were doing just individual projects, and so it just was not as cohesive. It was not. It was just tougher, just much tougher.
Yeah.
And for somebody that's a businessman, not a school teacher that knows how to crack the whip on the kids and keep everybody in order, it was tough. It was tough for me to do that.
Right.
And so this time around, I pretty much told everyone, I said, I don't know how to keep order in a classroom. I do know how to get rid of an employee, how to fire an employee. I said, so if I have to do that, why, I'll certainly, I could do that for you.
Right.
But anyway, these kids were absolutely great. We had so much fun, and it was a really tight group when we were done. It was a real joy to be working with these kinds of kids, and it was a real joy for me to see the type of leadership that we do have coming up in the Antelope Valley.
Gives you hope, doesn't it?
It gives you huge hope. It's too bad we hear all the negatives, because these are some positive, awesome kids that are out there, and from all areas of the valley. North, south, east, and west sides of the valley, these kids all came from, and they didn't know each other. They all got to know each other, and I was very proud of them, to tell you the truth. Very, very proud of what they had done when they accomplished everything.
My feeling going away was, what a great program for the Lancaster Chamber to be involved in.
I agree. I don't know of a better program to not only the exposure of what the chamber had over the thing, but the resources we have within the chamber that can help do this type of a program. I mean, we have people that have backgrounds, education, and experience that are all the way across the board. And I kept telling that to these kids, you would never be able to get this just as any person walking into town, trying to get a business going, to know the level of the expertise that these people have.
Yep.
And so it was huge. It was really well done. And I was very proud of the chamber as well.
Stan Ulvin, Sierra Towing, that is the Young Entrepreneur Academy, YAY program, Lancaster Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
And we're back. This is Minding Your Business with the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce on News Talk 1380. The Antelope Valley and North LA County source for your news now. I'm Chris Spiker, Antelope Valley florist. That wonderful music by Lions Named Leo out of Bakersfield, California. Aaron Goldstein.
Hello.
Hey. Who's our next guest?
Our next guest is Stan Ulvin from Sierra Towing.
Stan Ulvin. How long have you been in the Antelope Valley?
Funny you should ask me that, Chris,
Yeah,
because the same thing came to mind with me. I go, there's little Chris Spiker. Everybody's seen Chris Spiker for years, and I thought, I wonder how long he's been. Let me tell you, I've been here since I've been 4 years old. Wasn't born and raised here, but at 4 years old in 1956, moved here. So
Well, that's pretty good.
that should be year number 60 I'm on right now. How about
Wow.
you, Chris? Where are you at?
Well, I was 3 when I came to the Antelope
I'm
Valley
not kidding.
on a stagecoach. I don't even know what a stagecoach is.
I'm not even sure
I
what
know
those
what
are.
a stage-
That's what George Lane pulls around town, isn't that right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's him.
He's just
Yeah.
about got that thing paid off, too, I think.
I think he does.
But the Lanes came to town a long time ago.
They're a little ahead of us, weren't they?
The
Chris?
Spikers were 1953.
53,
Yeah.
so you got a couple years on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And Dad had a line on a flower shop that was for sale.
So you started out with the flower shop is how you came in.
Yeah.
Well, similar with us. Dad came in town. We've always been in automotive. And Dad came in town and he did body work. He was into the body shop, and he came in and worked at ran Bud Willer Oldsmobile, which was there on Sierra Highway across the street from Starkson Chevrolet and,
Yes.
and Lancaster Ford.
Yeah, on that busy old Highway 6.
That's right, Highway 6, Sierra Highway. That's right. So we did that, and then Dad went and broke away from the Olds dealership, and we had Sierra Auto Body in the S turns in Palmdale, right by the railroad tracks.
Wow.
We were there during late 50s and through the 60s.
Really?
Yeah.
So-
Actually, I'm wrong. We were there through mid 60s into the 70s. I'm sorry. Yeah. So
I don't want to get off the subject here too much, but how
No.
close was that to that Edelweiss?
Edelweiss was, you could look right across the street and you could see Edelweiss right across on the, just west of us. There was Edelweiss.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Isn't that amazing?
Reminiscing,
That
huh?
Young people can know such old stuff.
I know, isn't that amazing? So I grew up in the Antelope Valley with Dad in the body shop business. Kind of grew up around that as I went through. Went to Courtsale Elementary. Went to Del Sur was our middle school or junior high school then, and then went to Courtsville High School, graduated in 1970.
Wow.
I think you might have been an AV boy, weren't you?
I wasn't. I still am an AV boy.
You really?
68.
Class of
Class of
68.
68.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys were who we were battling back in the day.
There
We
were
didn't
some
quite
rivalries.
have. There were huge rivalries.
Yeah.
We didn't quite have the sports teams up back in those days. You kept beating us, but yeah.
In those days, there were still like farm guys, guys that grew up on farms and had muscles and shoulders and.
The West Side, Courtsville High
Look
School
at
was
him. He's laughing.
completely. Aaron's laughing at us over there. Courtsville High School was completely surrounded with alfalfa fields. The Goatees had their ranch, and we were completely surrounded with alfalfa out there. That's all we had. The Lanes had their ranch across the street, and that's all you saw. And
Wow.
you'd walk for a mile or more before you got away from the alfalfa, and that was Courtsville. Quite a different scene now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a different scene that we've
This
got.
valley, as you drive around, you see a lot of not slabs anymore because they've torn the slabs out, but you still see the ponds where they heaped up the
Yeah.
dirt.
Absolutely, the reservoirs. Yeah,
Every
the
one of
reservoirs.
those reservoirs was a swimming hole,
They
and
were.
there must have been a couple hundred of them.
Well, yeah, they were about every mile.
Yeah.
You'd see as you went down the road. Yeah, every mile you'd see one on the corner, and that was for they flood irrigated everything back then. They did some wheel lines, but there was a lot of flood irrigation.
So the water got pumped into the
Yeah.
pool, and then they let it run from 5 feet, ran out.
Yeah, and they'd come out, and it would come spewing out of the ground where they would pipe it across and come out. It was the whole thing was really kind of an interesting way that things went about back then. I mean, there was mud everywhere. Hard to believe in the Antelope Valley, but yeah, we had alfalfa everywhere you looked, and so that was me growing up in the Antelope Valley. It was a great place for a kid to grow up. I think you'll agree. It was a really great place. Still is a good place for kids. My kids. I couldn't believe I went off to college and got an engineering degree and went off for a few years and could not believe that I actually came back into the Antelope Valley and was back here. And then my kids went to Quartz Hill Elementary and then went to Joe Walker and then went to Quartz Hill High School as well. And so here they were back in the valley doing exactly what I'd done, and I never would have guessed it, to tell you the truth. So yeah.
It's good to have that piece of paper,
Which one's that?
that certificate that you got from the university.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's well, my whole thing in life has been that talking about a backup plan. We were talking about we were talking about you've got to have a backup plan in life. And I had the skills in math and science, and so I went on to. I was accepted into Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and accepted into University of Nevada Reno. Being a skier all my life, I went to University of Nevada Reno and went mechanical engineering. I graduated from there and then went off and did a couple years of engineering, working for a large corporation, Pittsburgh Des Moines Steel Company, and realized I'm not a big corporation guy. I'm kind of I like small business, and had a good job offer in Reno at a small engineering firm and was headed that direction when my father sent me the one and only letter that I can ever remember from him, and it said, I am about to sell this business, but I'm willing to give you half. Now he'd expanded at this point, and that's where we get into the Sierra Towing. He had the body shop, but he'd expanded in 1973 while I was still in college. He'd expanded to repair and towing in Lancaster, and we had the body shop in Palmdale. He had a partner. Well, the partnership only lasted a year. That didn't work out too well. And right as I was graduating from college, things kind of fell apart. So I helped Dad for a little bit as I first got out of college before I went off in engineering, and then we got everything rolling again well. Dad consolidated the business all together, and I went off and went engineering. Well, when Dad sent me this letter 2 years later, I thought, I can go work for a small engineering firm, or I could come back and I could work for a small business or be part owner of a small business. I need to give that a shot. I need to at least give that a shot and see what I think about that. So that was in 1977 that I actually came back and started that with my wife, Chris, and I came back to the Antelope Valley, and we've been plugging away ever since, going with Sierra Towing. And so this next year will be our 40th year that she and I have run this place.
Wow.
So yeah, and we've had a good run.
Where is Chris from?
Chris was an Air Force brat.
She's from everywhere.
Her father was a fighter pilot, flew an F-105. He did 100 combat missions
Wow.
over North Vietnam, and an F-105, and he was actually kind of a legend in his time. He came back, and they lived all over. She graduated in Germany. She lived quite a while in Florida, and yeah, so she lived many places. No place any longer than 3 years typically, though, which is what happens with kids that are in the Air Force. Luckily, she had 5 brothers and sisters, so they kind of were able to go around as a family, and it worked cohesively. And yeah, so I brought her out to California, and we've been running Sierra since. Yeah.
I seem to kind of remember when you got out of the auto body business.
Yeah.
Maybe I took a flower van over there one time for an estimate.
Dad, well, his dad's just getting older. His dad was getting older. He decided he just didn't really want to do body work. He was in his 60s, like later 60s, and you know, he loved doing that type of work. And
Yeah.
and I was always running the towing. You know, we were the AAA contractor for Lancaster from 1973 until just about 10 years ago now, I guess it's been. So I was very busy with doing that, with running the tow business and all that. And Dad just wanted to slow down. So at that point, we were doing full-blown repair and almost 2,000, actually 2,500 Auto Club calls a month for the city of Lancaster.
You make it up in the volume, right?
Boy, I'll tell you, that was what a nightmare. You know, I always say, looking back on it now, you know, you try to keep your customers happy, and when you're basically touching, towing, you know, unlocking, jump starting 100 vehicles a day, if you have one person unhappy with you, that's only 1%.
Yeah.
1%. If you can keep it down to 1%, you've still got one person a day that's upset with you. So knock that unhappiness down to 0.5%. You still, every other day, you have somebody that's kind of upset with you, which you can put up with that and get through it and make something equitable for your customer and the business and so forth. But it wears at you, and after doing it a number of years, I finally got to an age I just go, I can't take this anymore. I gotta back off. So we let the Auto Club contract go, and we tow exclusively for police department towing is what we do. So we're the sheriff tower for Lancaster and Palmdale, along with Clark and Howard. There's 2 of us that do it, and we do that as well as CHP towing, and we do private towing as well. So that's what the business is.
I've walked through the operation. It's an amazing plant, an amazing setup, and has a big fence around it because you got to kind of
Yeah, it's more than that. It's actually I always
secure
say,
things and
I kind of say it's the opposite of a prison. It's to keep people out. 8.5 foot block walls with razor ribbon all the way around, and lights and alarms and cameras and you name it, we've got it going. You know, when your car gets towed for some reason, you've been in an accident, maybe it's not registered right, maybe, you know, whatever the reason your vehicle gets towed, you certainly don't want to worry whether or not is being properly stored, safe stored, and that, you know, you can be assured that you want to be assured that nothing is going to be missing and that nothing's going to go wrong with your car. Well, you know, on my side, I certainly want to do that for customers, but, you know, I also want to be able to sleep at night. And if I come in and I'm worried whether things have gone wrong, it's pretty tough to sleep at night. So, you know, there's a little bit of selfishness in having the type of lot and the type of operation we have. I want people to come in with confidence. You know, it's always an unfortunate situation when you've been towed and you come in like that. And I understand that. And we try to keep it so we do everything we can. However, the one thing I can certainly take care of is that you have a safe experience with the car.
Right.
So that's really what we're trying to do. You know, equipment-wise, things that have happened in the industry are very interesting. But towing these days has gotten to it's very technical. It's gotten so there's a lot of training that is necessary, that is required by the state of California and by LA County. So you know, the guys that come out, it's not the way it used to be. It's not the way that people kind of envision. It's not the way you see those reality shows about towing. I mean,
yeah,
that is not the way it is.
It's smoke and mirrors, huh?
It really is. Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you very much for coming on the show. Thank you for being a Lancaster Chamber member.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and very proud of our chamber. We've got a great chamber in this in the city, and it's been a joy for me to be involved with this today. So thank you.
Stan Ulvin, Sierra Towing. Thank you.